Hey guys, Spirit of the Law here. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Britons. They're a very popular civilization to play in AoE2, and it says something interesting about them that they're simultaneously the most pick civ on Black Forest team games and the second most pick civ on Arabia 1 vs 1. Those are two settings that would appear to have almost nothing in common, so why are Britons so popular on such completely different maps? Let's check them out. To start off, their team bonus is that their archery ranges work 20% faster. Getting 6 units for every 5 isn't a massive increase, but it's easy to see how that can help in archer rush, where it's especially important to build up numbers quickly. Now that said, at any competitive level, militia or scouts will still be coming in before your archer numbers are high enough, so depending on the level of play, going straight for archers can be risky, even with faster working archery ranges. The fact it's a team bonus also means in a 3 vs 3 or 4 vs 4, you'll probably have another teammate that's also going archers and is going to be helped out. Even hand cannoneers or skirmishers for other civilizations are going to be created faster, so you and your teammates will often make use of it at some point eventually, maybe even without realizing it. Moving on to their civilization-specific bonuses, their town centers cost half as much wood to build starting in Castle Age, saving 137 wood per town center. The fact this starts in Castle Age is significant because otherwise it would be an incredible bonus on Nomad. Thinking about the standard 2 extra town centers in Castle Age, that's 274 wood saved. At first glance, that's comparable or even slightly better than what Huns, Japanese, or Malians have saved by early Castle Age. So while it kicks in a bit later, it does end up being a decent wood bonus. Civilizations with unit discounts can easily add up to more than that in the long run, but the main advantage to Britons is that it's coming at a time when you're trying to get out farms, houses, and archers all at the same time. Essentially, while booming, you could think of it as 2 free farms for every town center you build. That's a big step toward the 5 to 6 farms per town center that you need to continuously create villagers at each one. The only downside to keep in mind is that they still take the full 100 stone. Their next bonus is that their foot archers get +1 range in Castle Age and another in Imperial. This affects their archer line and the longbowmen as you'd expect, but not the skirmisher and obviously not the cavalry archer. Britons don't have access to the hand cannoneer, but in case you're wondering, it wouldn't have affected them either. This can be a strong bonus when combined with an archer rush, as it means your Castle Age crossbows have 1 more range than anyone else's crossbows, skirmishers, or mangonels. That power spike in Castle Age also means it's even more important for Britons to not lose their archers during Feudal Age, simply because their units gain so much extra value in Castle. To put the Britons' power spike into perspective, your archers as you advance to Castle Age will have 5 attack and 5 range. But within a minute after reaching Castle Age, with Bodkin Arrow, the crossbowman upgrade, and this bonus, they'll be at 7 attack and 8 range. Crossbows are also trained 30% faster than archers, which is yet another reason to prioritize reaching Castle Age. Imperial Age likewise is giving another added range, though at that point Britons can lose a bit of their competitive edge from not having thumb ring. That means in the long run missing out on both its benefits to accuracy and firing rate. Their last bonus is that their shepherds work 25% faster. Now despite the term shepherd sounding specific to sheep, in this case it applies to all herdable animals. In terms of raw collection rate, the difference is from roughly 19 to 24 food per minute. Considering you need 120 food per minute to sustain villager production, that means as Britons you can get away with 5 villagers on sheep instead of the usual 6, and even then you're actually collecting slightly faster than usual. You could also go with the regular 6 on sheep as Britons, where their bonus means a greater food income and actually more food in total. For generic civilizations, if you factor in decay, a sheep gives 89 food with 6 shepherds, whereas 6 Britons can get 91 food per sheep. Whenever you can cut down on the time or number of animals decaying, you'll get more food in the end. In this case, we're talking about 2 food per sheep or 3 per cow, so it's not a big difference, and 5 on sheep as Britons is the most standard. Of course, that indirectly turns it into a slight wood bonus, since you start collecting wood 1 villager earlier. When the bonus really starts to get out of hand though is on maps that have extra herdables. Lombardia, for example, has 8 cows per player, which means you have 50% more food from herdables available. Ghost Lake is another one where extra sheep generate in the middle, and for Britons are even more beneficial to grab. So those are the bonuses for the Britons. I think the initial paradox of being a popular 1 vs 1 Arabia and 4 vs 4 Black Forest pick has a fair bit to do with the adaptability of both of those eco bonuses. As you can see, you're also heavily shepherded toward the archery range. Of course, on Black Forest, what they're most famous for is their mass longbowmen, so let's take a look at those. I think the most natural comparison is to the crossbow and arbalest, which likely you'll have made first in a lot of situations. The resource costs are comparable, though the longbow is a bit more wood and a bit less gold intensive to make. In practice, your economy will look quite similar making either unit, so right away I think that helps in making a transition between the two. In terms of their stats, compared to the regular archer line, there's an important distinction between Castle and Imperial Age. I went into a lot more depth with this as its own video, but I'll summarize the main takeaways. To start with Castle Age, the only obvious difference is the longbow has one more attack. Considering longbows need to be built at a castle and are going to be harder to mass as a result, I would say that going archers and continuing with crossbows in a Castle Age makes the most sense on any open map. As we've already seen, their crossbows have a large power spike in early Castle Age, and I think it makes sense to play into that. The main argument for longbows in Castle Age would be that they take out a lot of their most common counter units faster than crossbows, like skirmishers, knights, and mangonels. Once you hit Imperial Age though, elite longbows start to look much more favorable in the long run than the arbalest. The elite upgrade costs a lot more than the arbalest, but you end up getting one more attack, one more range, and an extra pierce armor. Remember, training longbows is also 5 less gold per unit, so that upfront cost is slowly paid back over time on top of just having an overall better performing unit. Obviously, you need to weigh that against how many castles you have, and there are times it's perfectly defensible to stick with arbalest for the entire game. The fact they outrange onagers, castles, towers, and skirmishers has given longbows a reputation as an infamous deathball unit on closed maps, though I think any combination of rams, onagers, and skirmishers can be an effective way to deal with them, as well as the anti-archer specialist units like huskarls or Bataan archers. Worth pointing out is also that the elite longbowmen look cooler than the arbalest, and in retrospect I probably could have just left the analysis there. One thing you can do to help out your archers is to pick up the Britons Castle Age unique tech, Yeoman, giving foot archers +1 range. It costs 750 wood and 450 gold, so that's quite a bit more than researching Bodkin Arrow, while objectively giving archers less value by not affecting their attack. Now we've seen their foot archer bonus, which only affected crossbows and longbows, but this time foot archers counterintuitively include skirmishers. That means after this admittedly expensive unique tech, Briton skirmishers have one more range than most other civilizations. Something I found difficult to settle is whether this is more of a Castle or Imperial Age tech. Originally it was an Imperial Age tech, but was moved down in the Forgotten Empire's expansion to Castle Age. Given its relatively high cost for just one more range, I still personally see it as something to get in the Imperial Age. Briton crossbow and longbows in Castle Age with 9 range does sound pretty nice, but on the other hand, they already outrange other archers, mangonels, and town centers thanks to their passive bonus. It feels like there's just more effective ways to spend your resources in Castle Age. Of course, it also adds 2 attack to each arrow fired by your towers. That comes far too late for the typical tower rush, and considering the fact that the guard tower upgrade also gives 2 attack per arrow, plus 480 more HP for a fraction of the cost, it's again hard to justify. Arrow slits is also a much better deal for giving anywhere from 1 to 3 more attack for, again, much cheaper, so Yeoman seems to be quite a bit above the going rate. Japanese Yasuma towers look like a steal in comparison, at half the cost and not taking gold, while tripling their tower's base number of arrows. It's a bit of an odd, unique tech since it seems to cost far more than the going rate for what it gives to both foot archers and towers. I see it as something you typically pick up fairly late, and for me it's below the elite longbow upgrade in the priority chain. You will need it eventually though if you want those glorious 12 range elite longbows. Moving on, their Imperial Age unique tech is Warwolf, which gives their trebuchets blast damage. Without Warwolf, trebs are an instant kill to most units because of 200 attack, but they deal all of their damage to just 1 unit. After the tech, you can see trebuchets deal damage to a small area. Oddly enough, it also makes their shots 100% accurate. Briton trebuchets are extremely effective in the target area, whereas regular, lower accuracy trebuchets can technically hit units with a larger spread and distribute their damage more randomly. It's easy to see a possible trade-off, where a lot of Briton trebuchets firing together are just going to completely overkill whatever they hit in that one spot. It's an interesting example where too much accuracy can sometimes be a negative thing and add to how much micro you need to do. Now, on the other hand, the tech can have some obvious benefits. For example, trebuchets take 3 direct shots to bring down. Having 100% accuracy compared to 15% means you can feel confident in small-scale treb wars that even when outnumbered, you have a good chance of winning. In case you're wondering, the tech doesn't help against buildings, which they're already 100% accurate against, and Warwolf doesn't add any extra damage. Something you have to watch out for though is that Warwolf makes Briton trebuchets damage your own and friendly units. So that's the Britons' unique unit and techs. It seems to all be about capitalizing on range, whether it be with their longbows, foot archer range, or winning treb wars. You'd be forgiven for thinking at this point Britons are a bit one-dimensional, and while that's not completely unreasonable to say, let's take a look now at their tech tree and see what else they have to offer, starting with the infantry. For an archer civilization, they have some decent infantry options, like the complete champion and halberdier lines. They won't go toe-to-toe with a true infantry civilization in the long run, though it is fairly common to see Britons open with militia in rated games simply because straight archers is a bit too slow. On the other hand, nothing directly helps their infantry, so I'd say it's a B. Halberdiers can definitely be a nice complement to your late game archers and are worth keeping in mind. Next, let's take a look at their cavalry. This one's a bit rough with no bloodlines, paladin, hussar, or anything to really make it stand out. You might add some scouts or knights to counter skirmishers and mangonels, and cavaliers are used now and then in Imperial Age, but Briton cavalry is mostly reserved as counter units and rarely the bulk of your army. I'd say it's a C for cavalry, and definitely not something that a Briton player is going to need in every game. Keep in mind though, flank players almost always expect scouts and knights from their pocket, so if you are pocket as Britons, it's worth clarifying with your flank at the start of the game how they want you to play it. Now let's take a look at their bread and butter, the archers. The archer and skirmisher lines are of course top tier, especially once you reach Castle Age. In the late game, you also have the option of longbowmen as well. Now that's not to say they have a perfect archery range with a lack of thumb ring and hand cannoneer. The cavalry archer is also something to avoid on account of having no thumb ring or bloodlines. Even still, they're overall an easy top 3 archer civilization in my mind, and it's an A for me. They're a great choice to play the archer role in team games, and even 1 vs 1 you'll often be relying on archers as the backbone of your army. Moving on to their siege, they have some nice options, though they are missing bombard cannon and some of the final upgrades. Remember, their trebuchets become arguably the best at treb wars after you pick up their unique tech. Overall, I'd say it's a B for their siege. With such good archers already, I don't see the Scorpion getting a ton of use, but onagers and rams are a great counter to skirmishers. Assuming you don't have a Saracen teammate, rams and trebuchets can also add some much needed damage against buildings. Now let's take a look at the navy. Right away, it's a great looking tech tree with everything except the elite cannon galleon. The sheep bonus also helps early on by letting you put an extra villager on wood, so they can have a nice early rush on water. They're not necessarily top tier with a lack of direct water bonuses, but even faster working archery ranges can help on any neutral islands or landings. I'd give them a B+ on water for both the early and late game. Taking a quick look now at their monks, right away, no redemption is a tough one to miss out on. Missing atonement also means you can't convert other monks, which isn't a big deal, and heresy is missing, though I don't consider that a major factor considering you'll probably be making mostly archers. With a video on healing I did recently, I'm starting to think monks can give a lot of value to expensive low HP units like archers, and they also give a defense against small numbers of knights in Castle Age. I think it's a B- for monks considering they miss redemption, but I actually think they can contribute with conversions during the mid-game, and possibly some healing in there as well. Moving on to defenses, you have a ton of options, basically everything except treadmill crane and bombard tower. Any Black Forest player will tell you longbows can be great defensively as well for controlling a choke point, especially when combined with their dangerous trebuchets. Cheaper town centers also allow them to protect resources all over the map, and I'd give Britons an A- for defenses and the university. Wrapping up with their economy, both the early game faster sheep bonus and the cheaper town centers give a lot of flexibility across different maps. There's a bit of a lull in feudal age with no direct economy help, and in the late game they likewise don't have any direct bonuses. I'd still say it's a solid B+ for the economy, with crop rotation as the most notable thing missing. So to put it all together, when playing as Britons, I think it's often to your benefit to play to their strengths as an archer and range specialist. They do have some options between strong crossbows, serviceable knights, fully upgraded infantry, and decent siege, so I wouldn't say they're completely tied to going 100% archers throughout the entire game. They're a solid civilization in 1 vs 1s, but I think where they really shine is in 2 vs 2s or as the flank in a 3 vs 3 or 4 vs 4. They excel in situations where they can focus on massing archers and where an ally can contribute scouts, knights, or even camels. Personally, they're one of my favorite civilizations to play in that particular role, and I think they pair really well with Magyars, Persians, Franks, or even Indians. But those are just my thoughts on the Britons. Thanks for watching. and I'll see you next time.